Welcome to our vibrant network of governance, risk, compliance, and cybersecurity leaders. We share cutting-edge insights, best practices, and innovative strategies to empower professionals in navigating the dynamic cyber threat landscape. Join Circolo de CISO to ignite resilience and data protection across industries.
Welcome back, and thank you, Thanuki, for joining me again to talk about enforcement challenges and solutions with respect to AI and intellectual property. And we've had these long conversations. I think we've discussed several topics in several episodes. And today we are going to be discussing the eighth topic, which is going to be on enforcement challenges. So I'd like you to maybe very briefly tell our viewers, what are the challenges in enforcing intellectual property rights in the context of AI? Thanuki?
So I think there's a lot of challenges, and that has a lot to do with the fact that AI in itself is very complex and it's constantly evolving. So the risks and the challenges that it is posing to not just the conversation of intellectual property, but anything else even, is complex. So certainly the challenges are a lot. So, I mean, just to think about them, the first thing I would think is there's a lot of concern about costs and resources associated with acquiring or building automated tools to enforce copyright. And added to that, SMEs may rely on, would want to rely on some of these tools, but they may not essentially be able to access them or basically afford them even to begin with, right? So that is one of the glaring issues at present. And then you have automated anti-piracy systems. They rely on very opaque algorithms, and that proves to provide us with transparency challenges. And that kind of exacerbates the whole black box AI kind of that problem as well. That also gets pushed a lot through things like this. Then you have AI tools can aid in searching for registered design databases, but will not be able to help if it is unregistered, right? And or copyright infringements which are not reported about. Large firms are the ones that will always benefit the most from using AI for infringement identification, right? So there's a problem there. You have data sharing issues. Because of this data sharing aspects and also GDPR compliance, data protection law compliance and everything, this aspect of intellectual property and data protection don't always go hand in hand. So how do you manage that? That is a challenge. Then when it comes to patent enforcement, you require a blend of human and technological knowledge. Okay, but then now we have a bigger conversation that's coming up now. What if the AI system is autonomous and able to create something on their own, right? And we don't have answers for any of that. Complexity of patent language and legal action costs problems, because already it's complex when it comes to the usual creations and inventions. But when you talk about AI, which is extremely complex, even identifying, what the algorithm is, explainability is always a problem when it comes to AI, right? So we have issues like that. Then ethical limitations. Of course, there are lots of ethical limitations, biased decision making, lack of transparency, which are problems that are essentially societal problems. And as long as there is bias in society, it's going to get reflected in artificial intelligence systems. So how do you deal with that, right? We are talking about creating cultural shifts, and kind of striking a balance between cultural innovation and technological innovation, which is always a very tough thing to do. And then you have the problem of not having adequate laws in place, or laws that and policies are always lagging behind. So lack of clarity, lack of protection is always a problem. And then interoperability is also going to be an issue. Because, like I said in one of our previous episodes, different countries have different approaches to this. Yes, there are commonalities, but there are very localized approaches. So we have that issue of lack of standardization and interoperability. So these are some of the problems that I've identified as concerns, basically, and challenges when it comes to enforcing intellectual property rights in the context of AI.
So, Thanuki, I mean, it's always going to be having challenges.
Yeah.
You take every, be it tech, be it non-tech, there are always challenges.
Yeah.
Do we have solutions for everything you listed down? Or are there things we have solutions? For some, we don't. I mean, do you think you can answer that question?
Yeah, so it we would say for both. I mean, equally, you could say that yeah, there are some solutions in place, and there's others which haven't been addressed. Like, for example, when I say lack of laws or amendments to laws or whatever, that's something that is a problem for a majority of the world at present when it comes to, very specifically, if we talk about just intellectual property rights is all we're talking about. So that is an area that is still not completely addressed even, right? In most of the countries, even in Sri Lanka, I mean, we haven't addressed it as such. So I think if we talk about some specific enforcement mechanisms or ways to address these challenges, I think one of the things is you have AI powered monitoring and detection tools. And the problem therein is that you have this equitable access problem, but still the tools are there. If you want to use it, I mean, if you can afford it, it's available. AI functions as a filtering tool to identify infringing content, reducing human workload that requires very specific, accurate training data. And this YouTube has that content ID tool, which is pretty much successful. I mean, it's not flawless, but it helps to identify copyright infringements, and it works. Improved image recognition could aid in the infringement identification. Then the European Union IP Office offers AI-based solutions to track and trace risk analysis, detection of abusive domain registrations, and things like that. So there are things in place and people are using it. I mean, if you look at, well, it is not entirely AI, but, uses some of it. I mean, blockchain technology also can be used because it can create a transparent, tamper-proof record of intellectual property ownership and transactions, which is very useful. And then you have big data analytics, which also at the heart and the core of it is artificial intelligence. And that can enable enforcement agencies to really analyze large volumes of data to identify patterns of infringement and prioritize those enforcement actions effectively in that way. Then machine learning, natural language processing, all of this can help a lot when it comes to automating and fast tracking IP filing processes and things like that, and added to that maybe even digital rights management systems specific for intellectual property. All of this can be done using AI. So I'm not going to. I guess you can just say that artificial intelligence, when you think about it that way, is like a double-edged sword, because on one side, you have this it's handing out some problems, but also there are some solutions that it's giving you. And it's useful and helpful if you know how to use it the right way. So I guess short answer is yes and no. You do have some solutions, and there are some others which are yet to be addressed.
So I guess what actually boils down is whatever we do, we need to find solutions and keeping the public interest at large, right? So that there are no biases, it is transparent, and especially when we are saying there should not be any biases, but in most countries, identities are related to the culture. right? So that's a debate for another day, right? So how do you remove bias, and how does it impact one's identity, and which is going to be related to their own culture? So with that thought, Tanuki, thank you so much for making time to speak about enforcement challenges and also solutions. While we may not have all the solutions, but we are hopeful that the solutions will be available for everyone at an affordable price. Thank you so much.